Hello viewers and greetings from wherever you are watching us from, in Kenya and beyond. Welcome to the Inside Show, your favorite weekend magazine that focuses on current affairs and politics that steers big conversations. My name is Stephen George. Kenya has been teetering on a brink of a crisis for the past fortnight. It shows you the power of a collective when they assemble for change. The president bears a colossal responsibility to keep this country safe from any harm when we reminisce how he held that very sword during the swearing ceremony. Well, we do not have any other Kenya to scamper safety to. If we do not maximize the great constitution, this applies from the executive, parliament, and the judiciary. Our collective responsibility requires us to sail in a manner that corresponds with consciousness and patriotism, especially at this juncture when the world is looking at Kenya. 60 years of independence comes with better social amenities, literacy, diverse religious beliefs, and critical thinking for solving problems. Destruction of property is absolutely uncalled for. Whoever propagates for such has no good intentions for our country, Kenya. And that is our editorial today. Now, welcome to the set, a lady and a gentleman.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you can begin by introducing yourselves.
Thank you. Viewers, my name is Bolo Mashua. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm a senior Rotarian, and I'm in a lot in a community space and leadership.
Yes, next.
Yeah, good evening, viewers. My name is Ambassador Esther Waringa, the President of Public Service Governance, a governance expert, and also a presidential candidate.
Yes, of course, a resident here at the Inside Show. And next.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Wesley Jeff, and I am the National Youth Representative for the Service Party, and also a lawyer in training.
Yes, to kickstart this conversation, we saw the president yesterday dissolve the cabinet. We've not seen the prime CS go home. What do you make out of this? Is he untouchable? To begin with you, Mburu.
Yes, I saw yesterday what happened. I think after the Gen Z came very strong, saying that they want something to be done in the country. And one of them was to dissolve the cabinet because it's not delivering. There's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of wastage, among other challenges. Yes, I think that was a mistake because the whole Gen Z, indeed, they are even insisting that the president should also go home. Having said that, I think there was a certain favors. I don't know what message the president wants to say that some people are untouchable. What Gen Z are saying is that anybody who is, because the Mudafadi is part and parcel of the cabinet. So other than yes, maybe the deputy president who is protected by the constitution, all the other people should have gone home.
Ambassador Waringa, being a governance expert, do you think the president did the right thing to send every cabinet secretary home?
In fact, it was wrong overdue. Reason being, the country has been on a totally wrong direction. And for the longest time, I've been saying that we are having a very incompetent, non-merited cabinet that has been incapacitated totally to deliver. And this is the first government where we experienced cabinet who are almost jokers. They really did not know why they are in office. Most of them actually did not know their mandate. And do you remember one day the head of state, the president, who was appointing authority, said that he is gonna send the cabinet secretaries home if he happens to know better than they know at their ministerial level. And he said, if I happen to know much more better than you know, then be assured you are going home. What does that tell you? That since the inception of this cabinet, or since the vetting and appointment of these people,
there was already a problem.
There was already a problem.
Yes.
The president knew that he has a very incompetent cabinet. My question is, should cabinet ministers be vetted by parliament? Remember, parliament is a body that is possessed by the power of majority votes, regardless of whether they merit or does not merit. In fact, somebody who merits to interview or to vet a cabinet minister should be somebody who is in a higher position than members of parliament who has been elected. And I propose, and we are heading to a very serious constitutional season. We must change the constitution 2010, where we want to see like a body like the Public Service Commission.
Yes, we are coming there.
Be in charge of the vetting and appointment of ministers and permanent secretaries away from the political arm.
The parliament we've been seeing all the time vetting.
Absolutely. Going forward, and we are not resting. And that is why actually we are eager to take over the 60th government so that we start streamlining the constitution and we start bringing order into government, especially through strengthening the public service.
To bring in Wesley, Jeff, into this conversation, do you think the president favored the prime CS in this firing that was done yesterday?
First of all, thank you so much for having me today. If you'd allow me to first of all pass my greetings to your viewers, especially viewers who may be watching from the great county of Laikipia, which is where I come from. And now to delve into your question, first I think in the recent 1 month, in the past 1 month, the protests have come from very, very clear quarters. The only thing that has been unclear is who is leading the protests. And one of the very important things that people said was that we want the cabinet dismissed in its entirety.
That was as early as last week when we saw Gen Z going to the streets to air the frustrations.
And you see, as much as the president has the biggest brand to bear in this whole crisis that he has put himself in, by the way, he has also learned a step or two from the last 2 weeks. If you look at where he was when he was looking at the finance bill, he thought that adjusting the finance bill would be a solution to calm down the protests. But then people told him, we're not telling you to adjust the finance bill. We're not telling you to amend. We're telling you to reject the whole of it. So now he understood that we're not telling you to reshuffle. We're telling you to dismiss. Now, when it comes to the specific question of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, some people in some quarters may argue the president did not fire the Prime Cabinet Secretary because how do you fire somebody who was hired on an unconstitutional platform?
Yes, we saw many Gen Z say that that post was quite unconstitutional.
Absolutely. So where do you start from firing him when the Prime Cabinet Secretary is just a creation of the president's mind? Because if you look at what the president has done and the capacity that the Prime Cabinet Secretary does, the only reason that the Prime Cabinet Secretary operates at the level that he does is because of the goodwill that the president has shown him, which is the same goodwill that he has been extended by not being fired. Because as at now, you could very much argue that the president and the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the relationship they have is the same as the president would have with any of his advisors who are not gazetted in constitutional means.
Yes,
so that is why he was not fired.
Yes, to bring you, Mburu, into this conversation again, the threshold of the Constitution, a maximum of this CS is 22. Yes. Do you think in the next appointment we are going to see the minimum threshold of 14? Are we going to see Gen Zs here, new faces? Most of these Gen Zs were saying we want young people in this post. Do you think we'll have a minimum at this time?
Common sense dictates that we should have a smaller cabinet. Remember, Kenya is a third world country. And I've always stated that Kenya is one of the most overgoverned countries in the world. If you take a country of about 50 million people, we have, of course, the presidency, we have a civil service, we have 47 governors, we have 67 senators, we have 349 members of parliament, that is members of parliament elected, nominated, and women rep. We have 1,450 what you call MCAs, members of the county assembly. This country, we also have provincial administration, the interior, then coordination. We also have some people called sub-county admin, we have ward admin. So Kenya is basically overgoverned. So moving forward, we should see if the president is reading the signs of the time, and he should be, because I think there's a revolution. As we talk now, I know that young people are coming together in Nigeria. I know there's a lot of discussion in Tanzania.
So you think the Kenyan constitution, the one that was promulgated, is quite expensive?
It is expensive. This is not a constitution for that world country. You know, we need about 8 governors. I don't know even if senators...
8 governors, you are referring to the former provinces?
The former province, maybe adding 1 because of maybe Rift Valley, because it's a northeastern, maybe not more than 10. Senators, I think they should go home. If you ask me about women rep, I do not surely know what women rep. If you ask an average woman or an average Wajiko what a woman rep does, many people do not know. And in any event, this job can be done by any other person. So we are looking about, we need to ask ourselves as a country, what do we want? Look about a state like California. California has the fourth biggest GDP in the world. And they have one governor, they have 2 senators. And
they're all managing
their
economy.
Managing. Look about even America itself. It has about 100 senators. It has 50 governors.
Yes.
It has about 350 congressmen and women. So, and we are talking about a superpower. So this country we are governed, and it's a high time we look about the 2010 Constitution to see how we can reduce this. Our grandchildren will be wondering what we smoked when we were passing this Constitution, which is all the money is going to recurrent expenditure. Again, it's going to the development, as it should be, and what happens in civilized nations.
Ambassador, this constitution that was so hailed across the countries in Africa, in the world, Gen Zs are feeling that it is quite expensive. We are overrepresented.
Yes.
The post of the women rep, as Mburu has placed it, he's not seeing any, he's not feeling any effect.
Yeah.
What is your chime in?
Actually, we call them flower girls.
Absolutely, yeah. There are some positions that has been created by the Constitution 2010 that are not really adding up. Like what women, like I'm a woman, yes, and I support the power of women in government, but we cannot just position women there for the sake of positioning them.
Because of gender.
They don't have a portfolio. Yeah, they even sometimes were in the streets asking, what are we supposed to do? You know, they were on the streets demanding for their job description at some point. I think it was last year. So that tells you that the Constitution has so many gaps, and that's why we need a total overhaul. In fact, it is very expensive Constitution as we talk. As much as people say that it is the best Constitution, but how best it is it reflecting our culture? Is it reflecting our way of doing things at our level? As
our values, our religious beliefs.
And our status as a developing country? Or is it taking us there, up there, where we are not able to reach out? We should start from the bottom and then climb the ladder slowly without necessarily getting stressed or strained. So I must say that, of course, we are aware that so much was borrowed of this Constitution. From developed nations.
Yes.
So much was borrowed of Constitution 2010.
From developed
from
countries.
Developed nations. So we are trying to reach out. I mean, we are trying to catch up with them. However, there is what we always say here in Kenya: how is our ground? How is our culture down there? Like what my colleague here said. Actually, I was thinking, and have already listed, we only need 12 counties. 12 counties. And then maybe 47 constituencies that are current counties.
Yes.
The former provinces, which worked very well during Moi's administration.
The old constitution.
Absolutely, yes.
Should be brought back.
Should be brought back,
Should there be a referendum initiated?
Absolutely. And then on the wage bill, the Public Management Act 2015 talks about that the wage bill shouldn't go beyond 35%. Now, with the broader representation of Parliament, we have gone up to 46%.
Yes.
Now, when are we coming down? We must cut. We must continue cutting. We must continue cutting. And we are very open, Your Excellency, trying to see the kind of cabinet that you're bringing on board. Let me tell you, if I was head of state and government, with 15 ministries only, I would work. In fact, my manifesto as the 6th head of state and government, it's proposing only wizara za serikali 15. The rest, we just merge them together because that is where wastage is. Some of these commissions should be departments under ministries. Yes. You see, so there's so much that we have to do, and I just hope that His Excellency, the head of state, will now put his mind back to order to be able to focus this country on an upward trajectory.
Wesley.
Because where we are right now, yes, we are on a downward trajectory. In fact, we have not started yet peaking. We are still going down. But here we are, committed Kenyans, and we are ready to take Kenya from wherever we are to the next level.
And to bring you, Wesley, into this conversation, should the president make an appointment tomorrow when we wake up, are you expecting a minimal cabinet face, the faces of Kenya? We've never seen some of this region represented in government? Are you expecting to see 10, 12, or still a maximum of 22?
Thank you very much for that question. But first, allow me to respectfully disagree with my seniors here, in the sense that we must never lose sight of how we contextually fix the problem so that we got to where we are at. For example, a heavy point that I've had them present is that we need a leaner government. And I agree to a certain extent, because what even during the protests, us who have been at the forefront of pushing the government to do the right thing, asking for dialogue, let me remind you and give you contextual basis, is that I personally campaigned for the president in this country. I
Which
voted for the
president?
William Ruto.
This new regime?
President William Ruto, yes.
Yes.
I was part of his Youth for Kenya Kwanza. And to see me now, almost 20 months later, on the streets,
you are
pushing against him,
by
you
the
must ask yourself
policies.
how we got ourselves there. But let me get to the point that I disagree with my seniors, is that one, when we've been pushing for these agendas, the first thing we're saying is that the problem is that we do not have a revenue collection problem in this country. We have an expenditure problem. That is where we have the crux of the issue, is that there is so much government wastage in so many levels that it trickles down not only from national government, it comes to parastatals, it comes to state departments, then it heads to the counties. And let me tell you, for example, when they talk about scrapping the women rep position, I agree. Only to the extent that the role of a women rep is not known exactly what they do, because it's not really oversighting the county, yet they are the county MP. Because the work of oversighting the county is specifically and squarely on the senatorial desk. However, the reason why that position was put there was because the women of this country came forth and said, we are underrepresented.
Yes.
We don't get enough women elected.
So the Constitution
included that
this
up to such a point where we elect enough women that rule is obsolete or null and void. But let me also add something. Is that if this government were to properly implement our constitution and have the goodwill of morally doing the right thing in terms of expenditure of government, you would find that, yes, I do agree, we are overly represented in some quotas, because that would create, if it was properly implemented, there would be a lot of redundancies that are exposed. Because I had Senior Mashua give an example of the state of California, and he gave the example of the senator, the governor, and there are also 2 state senators, which are different from the senator. We also need to remember that inside that state,
State
there
of
are
California,
congressmen.
yeah.
Yes, there are congressmen. A lot of them. And then there is the municipal governance. So these people are not overrepresented because there cannot be taxation without representation. Let me give you one example so that I conclude my point. I reside in the county, or in the constituency of Ruiru. Ruiru has about 1 million people living there, with about a voter count of 400,000 people. In a country where Dadaab, the winning MP, Farah Maalim, won with 9,000 votes. The Honorable Simon Kengara of Ruiru won with 180,000 votes in a turnout of 60%. Well, that should tell you that there is gross inequality in terms of representation from someone who is in Ruiru, Biashara Ward, where I come from. Ruiru Biashara Ward is bigger than the entire population of Dadaab constituency. So we cannot say we are overly represented, while some people in this country grossly feel underrepresented. And that is a double tragedy for me, because even in my home county, the home ward, my upcountry ward, is called Iguamete Ward. It has 40,000 voters, a constituency. So I do not think the idea is to reduce the counties. I don't think the idea is to say that we are overrepresented in its entirety. I do agree to an extent, but not entirely. The point here should be, first of all, let us manage our expenditure as a people. And that comes from a bona fide responsibility and a moral responsibility from the governance.
Yes, Mburu, the president had a huge delegation. These cabinet secretaries accompanied the president to the United States of America. They signed treaties. We saw some of the policies were signed. From the legal perspective, will that affect anything?
Before I come to that, I just want to tell my brother, I'm a father of daughters and sons, and we take them to the same schools and the same universities and all that. I don't know what I will tell my daughter. Women form 52% of the voters. I think we need to get ways of promoting our women. Maybe, there's a lot of violence in our elections at all levels. We have women are disadvantaged. Kenya being a patriarchal, like most of the African countries, patriarchal country. We need to see how we can promote our women. Like now, this issue of women, we have not even said when. So even maybe 100 years, if you do not take this constitution, you're not telling us even when women become even more than women, we still continue having women left. So we need to ask those fundamental questions. Number two, I want to tell Wesley that America, being a country of 350 million people, ask them how many senators do they have? They have 100 senators. What about Kenya? 67. Compare
Plus the nominated,
look about the governors.
47 elected.
So we must, what we say, you can chew and walk. You can reduce representation and you can reduce wastage and corruption and all that. Somebody, the Auditor General, said that Kenya, a lot of the budget in Kenya goes to waste because of corruption and all that kind of stuff. And if you look about, and this wastage and corruption is basically done by elected leaders. If you go to Goldenberg report, you go to agro-leasing, you go to Dungu report on land grabbing, you go to NYS 1 and 2. It's basically, you see the footmarks and figure marks of our politicians. When you talk about politicians, they even have PAs. You even have MCA who has a personal assistant, several aides and all that kind of stuff. Kenya, we must become serious. If we have, if we are going to spend more money on development than the current expenditure, we must think about the country, how we are governed.
Back to my question, I was asking, the president had a huge delegation. Most of these cabinet secretaries accompanied the president to the US. They signed treaties that are so beneficial in this region. Do you think anything will be affected from these CS returning back to their homes?
Not really, because I know in the next couple of days, coming these weeks, we are going to have another cabinet. And basically, a government is not an individual. It's not an individual CS or an individual president. Even if Luto goes tomorrow, whatever has been signed is going to be delivered by the coming president. So even whatever was signed in the US, and of course we also had a problem with the delegation. I don't understand why you need to get all kind of people to go to the US. This is 21st century, and with the young person like Wesley, I can tell you, like a lawyer, most of the cases we do online. So I don't know why a president has to go for every small stuff. Must catch a flight, get all kind of
a private jet from
Dubai. So that's what we are saying. So to answer your question, there is nothing which is going to be affected, because whoever comes in the office,
everything is done in the name of the government of Kenya.
Because it's a government.
Yes. Ambassador Esther.
Yes, I must first of all start by saying, remember the ministries of government are still at work. We have PSs who are in charge, and remember we have permanently employed ministerial staff. So everything is going on. Remember, actually, we are looking forward to, in the near future also, to do away completely with the political space of this country. We are trying to bring a Kenya Bila Uchaguzi bill where we totally do away with the political representation, because what we need is a public or a service-driven government, and the backstop, the service-driven government, the backstop.
Actually, most of these Gen Zs were saying they want if a minister should be appointed in a docket of health, he must have gone to school of health.
Absolutely.
A doctor.
But what we have been having is political rewardees, Remember that even all these guys went through vetting to Parliament, and we asked in Parliament, what did you do for all that time that you are vetting these people? Wasting public resources, telling us that you are vetting people, yet you are bringing in the...
It was merely a conveyor belt for passing.
Absolutely. So we are asking ourselves, and remember, we have just talked about the wage bill, and ask yourself, why do we have a very high wage bill, especially on salaries and remunerations? Because of all elected representatives in this country. Ask yourself also, and this also, one President Uhuru Kenyatta also talked about it, how much money do we lose in the general elections? And then 2 years down the line, we have not recovered as a country, like what we are going through right now. Then we only have 1 year for development, and then 2 years after, we start campaigning for, the next year. Like, for example, right now, 2027, people are just trying to realign themselves. And that is why we are looking forward that very soon we will have a pure public service system of government where we will only have vetting and appointment of just the few leaders that we want. I just want to respond to my brother that the wage bill, the salaries that we are paying all this bloated government is a huge contribution to the 35% of the wage bill in this country. So if we reduce on representation, which is too much right now, we all agree we are on a bloated government, then we are going to address the exchequer issues on deficit of budgets. Remember that, is it last month that we had a whole summit on wage bill at Bomas of Kenya. What were some of the resolutions? To reduce from 46 to 35% of wage bill. So we must cut we must reduce on the staffing of government. Number two, we ask ourselves, do we need an MCA to give us water when we have the Ministry of Water? Do we need an MCA to give us education, to do education projects when we have the Ministry of Education? So the system we are proposing is that we completely do away with MCAs, MPs, and all the women rep and governors. We just have a pure public service structure running from the head of public service to the county head of public service. Yes, to the constituency head of public service. And I think my brother here, we remember that we had extension officers at that time. We reinstate of extension officers in each and every ward in this country. With that kind of a pure public service structure, we will not need the political arm completely. And that's the new constitution coming up.
We are going to pick it from there now.
Thank you.
It is time for us to take a short break. We'll be right back with more here at The Insight.
Everywhere, GBS.
Started an art adventure with their founders. UM Gallery is a place where artists can bring their work.
So now we're entering into something called random questions.
Okay.
My favorite part. Okay, so if you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
The piece here is called Morph 01. Morph 01 is
every artist, kawa ni msanii,
yeah.
You have been told no.
Yes,
So
yes.
what will you tell those artists when you wameambiwa, like how do we deal with rejection as an artist?
Sometimes people are mean and they want money out of the information that they give. Yeah, but sometimes you take a period to teach yourself also, because you're not a know-it-all.
Yes. If you were to wine and dine with an artist, like Wakitambo, an ancient artist, who will it be and why? Ungeuliza nini?
Because those people, let's commend them on their qualities and their
kwa artist atakuwa msanii. Usiende kwa studio kwanza kurecord ngoma bila kuwa educated about music. Juu sasa utaingia hapo, urecord ngoma yako vizuri alafu
hiyo utakuwa umegain kila kitu, but pia label uyachangi hivyo. Yeah, we helped you, so you are supposed to
do something.
Yeah. Kiingia unapewa contract. Unajua contract inakonga between two parties. Mnaagria under one thing, kila mtu analeta interest zake, then mnaangalia vile mtapata. We have talent in the ghettos, but manze usanii ni ngumu, designer wise endelea. True. Manze mimi niliona movie ya Kenya. Na movie ni kwenda trend. Walitumia Land Rover hizi za kitambo, hizi chuma,
Mtu akisenza audio kitu ni ya uongo.
Umeelewa kabisa. Form 1 kuna msemehando akasema ni artist. Akaambia kuja hapa bro. Unichore pilipili na ukali yake.
Kuna pilipili bad sound.
And welcome back to The Insight now. Very great conversations going on, Buru. Are we expecting more changes? The First Lady's office was scrapped out, the PM's, the Deputy President. Today we've seen the IG resign. Are we expecting more changes in the next coming days?
Incidentally, we expect a lot of changes. And I want to say thank you to Gen Z. You know, people have been deriding them, saying that they are TikTok guys, they're in the social media, that they are not interested with the politics of the country, the economic status of the country. We are very excited with them, and we want to encourage them to continue to do the job they are doing. And I also want to tell them that every generation fights its own war. Our parents were fighting for Mau Mau when we were getting independence from the Britons. Some of us, when we were in the university, we are very proactive with the second liberation. You know, I don't know how many times we have spent in police cells and all that. I'm happy with the Gen Z now. I don't know about millennial, because millennial, I don't know what role they want to do. But I'm happy with the Gen Z, what they are doing. But we're expecting a lot of changes. Number one, when we're having changes, there are changes which can be done by executive orders. The president can do like what he just did. There are so many things which he can do. There are others which require parliament, so long as you can get 2 thirds in parliament. The others which require referendum. Like when I saw the young people talking about, like now what we are talking about, reducing, you know, the number of governors, senate, that one requires the referendum, because the 2010 constitution said some things require you to go to the population, to the Wajiku, to seek that mandate. But a lot of things like corruption, we just need to ensure that EACC is able to do its job. The director of criminal investigation, the DCI. So if we are expected to see a lot of changes. And in any case, the pressure continues. You know, the Gen Z started talking about the finance bill to be rejected. After that, they said we want to see the cabinet going home.
And the
president,
indeed listened to them at this point.
He listened to them, and he's going to listen to a lot of. He's not. Let me say, he's not doing that because he wants, because of the pressure which he's getting. Let know, and I would even be very happy if the MPs go home. I mean, not just MPs, the senators, the governors, so that we start asking ourselves, how do we get the true people who can represent Kenyans? We also look about the problem in this country, and I want to tell you, it's the issue of civic education. We do not have civic education in this country. There's a guy who elected the MCA. If you ask him, because you elected X, you left Y, what is the work of the MCA? What is the work of the senator because you left Onyango, and you chose maybe Wafula? You must understand what is the work of the senator, what is the work of the governor, for you to know. Like,
and are they even competent to administer their duties to the common mwananchi at the grassroots level? This
is one of the problems. When I want to say that I never voted for Luto, I voted for Baba for obvious reasons. I like people who have fought for this country, people who have sacrificed. A guy who is put in for 9 years, a guy who has been fighting for the political space, democratic space, good governance. If you look about our president, about his history, when he was in the university, he was in bed with Kano, the very ruthless Kano regime. When he was done with the university, he joined YK. If you ask economists, the mess in the country started during YK, when our president was very active. In coming all the way, if you ask him what he has fought for, I was reading an article saying that it's only in Africa you will get billionaires who do not have a factory, or who have not invested in anything else. In other countries, you get billionaires, people who have invested.
That is in this
you know, and look about the billionaires, you ask them where they have gotten their money from. So this country, we need what we call paradigm shift. Some people saying madness is doing the same thing all the times and expecting different results. It's the high time now we do things differently. It's the high time we ask what kind of a country do we need? I mean, what kind of a governance do we need in Kenya? I want to remind you about the Asian tigers. The Asian tigers, I'm talking about Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, South Korea. In 70s, we are competing economically with Asian tigers. Today, if you take a country like South Korea, its economy is 40 times bigger than Kenya. Yes. Where did they start beating us? Number one is the level of the people whom we have as leaders. If it's about is Wajiko involved? So unless Kenya starts getting involved, start asking. At times I get shocked when I meet people who are educated saying, you know, I do not know my MC, I don't know the name of my MC, I did not even vote, particularly middle class. I'm reading a book called Why Nations Fail. And they're saying unless middle class get involved with the affairs of their countries, we will never, and that's what these young tigers did. And today, now they are doing very well.
It from there. Wesley, are we expecting more changes from the government? The IG had resigned this evening. Are we waking up tomorrow to more changes? The ambassadors, will they be recalled? The PS, as much as the president says that they are still in charge of these ministries, they are the accounting officers of these ministries. Should he change his mind tomorrow and we get a new face of Kenya?
I mean, you see, traditionally, the face of Kenya has always referred to appointments with divisions in tribe and demographics that feel left out. You see, right now, the position that the president finds himself is a very unique and new position, because the problem is not traditionally political as he is used to it. You saw the other day he went and sort of had an armistice with the opposition leader. And the people who are protesting, mostly the Gen Z, were very quick to tell the opposition leader that do not attempt to represent us on this particular issue, because what we are looking for is good governance. It's not an issue of politics. It's not a tribal issue.
We are coming back to
we'll
it
get
right
to that.
now.
And the reason why I'm saying...
We are coming back. We are taking a short break. We'll be right back.
We started an art adventure with their founders. Gallery is a place where artists can bring their work.
So now we're entering into something called random questions.
Okay.
My favorite part. Okay, so if you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
The piece here is called Morph 01. Morph 01 is
every artist. Kawa ni msanii,
yeah.
You have been told no. So
yes.
what will you tell those artists when you are like how do we deal with rejection as an artist?
Sometimes people are mean and they want money out of the information that they give. Yeah, but sometimes you take a period to teach yourself also, because you're not a know-it-all.
Yes. If you were to wine and dine with an artist, like Wakitambo, an ancient artist, who will it be and why? Ungeuliza nini?
Because those people, let's commend them on their qualities and their music videos. Quality na top notch.
Kwa artist atakuwa msanii. Usiende kwa studio kwanza kurecord ngoma bila kuwa educated about music. Juu sasa utaingia hapo, urecord ngoma yako vizuri alafu
hiyo utakuwa umegain kila kitu, but pia label uyachangi hivyo. Yeah, we helped you, so you are supposed to
do something.
Yeah.
Kiingia unapewa contract. Unajua contract inakonga between two parties. Mnaagria under one thing, kila mtu analeta interest zake, then mnaangalia vile mtapata.
We have talent in the ghettos, but manze usanii ni ngumu, designer wise endelea.
Manze mimi niliona movie ya Kenya. Na ni movie ilikuwa ina trend. Walitumia Land Rover hizi za kitambo, hizi chuma, hizi.
Mtu akisenza audio kitu ni ya uongo.
Umeelewa kabisa.
Form 1 kuna msemehando akasema ni artist. Akaambia kuja hapa bro. Unichore pilipili na ukali yake.
Kuna pilipili bad sound.
And welcome back to The Insight. Now, we'll pick it from Wesley again. Sorry I cut you short. What is the way forward? Gen Z have really shown Africa that they can do it. They don't have a sense of tribe. They're not showing anything to do with beliefs. We saw every contingent hue along the street. What is the way forward?
First of all, we have to understand, I like the fact that Senior Mboro here has mentioned that we need a paradigm shift. And this is a paradigm shift across all spheres of our society. One, it is the perceptual sphere of the shift we need. One, it is to stop assuming the way the government has found themselves in this current problem because of assumptions of what Gen Z is. We had the majority leader call them a KFC, Ubering, and TikTok generation.
TikTok generation.
Understand. And I had Bonamboro here bring it up, but he brought it up in a very respectful way as opposed to what we've seen from the majority leader. I'd like to inform you today that I also am on TikTok. I am 60,000.
And how do you use your TikTok as a Gen Z?
Let me also answer that, right? I have a TikTok with 60,000 followers. Since the protests began, and again, contextualize it in the perception that I voted and campaigned for this president, I have made 23 videos showing the journey of the Maandamano, educating people on civic education, telling people what is wrong with the finance bill from a legal perspective, because they told us that we don't read those bills. They told us that we don't understand the finance bill. So we have taken it upon ourselves to do civic education in the platform that people spend 60% of their time on. People don't even open
So you went page by page. It is a 135-page document.
No, we did not go page by page.
Yeah.
What we did is that at the beginning of the process where there were pain points, we started explaining those pain points. And we explained them on facts, not just because we wanted to kick a government that was down. We explained what was the government intention in, for example, taxing foreign imports on pads and diapers. But we ended up to the point of that civic education that we are finding ourselves, that the question that remains is, we understand what the government is trying to do in terms of spurring manufacturing from the local perspective. But in the interim, before our local manufacturers catch up to the demands and the safety concerns of the women of this country, what is the stopgap measure? What will they do in between? So we educated people, and that is where we are at as at now. And the changes are coming and they are far-reaching. For example, you've seen now that the president has signed the IEBC bill, it opens up the door for IEBC to be reconstituted, which after that, the people are talking about recalling MPs. And so that I conclude on that point. The reason why recalling of MPs is so important to this generation is because we have realized that the problem...
Is it possible from
Absolutely,
the legal perspective?
Let me tell you, it is
there
very possible.
Is there a clause in the Constitution that...
Recalling your MP is provided for in the Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a process for it. And that is not even the issue. The issue is that there were a lot of things a month before this that people said why it was impossible. Never has a president had to recall his own finance proposals. And let me tell you why this is important. We have realized that the MPs of this country, anybody who sits in the Houses of Parliament, are the problem of this country. Because the legislature is one of the most powerful arm of government, because it is a direct representative of the people. Because right now, we ended up with a question of, where does your loyalty lie if we are telling you that we do not want you to vote for this finance bill, yet you go vote for this finance bill and claim party lines? So we have realized, if you drain the swamp on the members of parliament perspective first, because the members of parliament, with the laws they make, the policies they pass, and the legislation they oversee in parliament, they can be able to curtail any excesses in and around governance.
Yes, and to bring you, Ambassador Esther, as a governance expert, you have a stellar experience in this kind of field. The president, the deputy president, always got this connotation of negativity, ethnicity. Do you think it is about time he sat down with the president and they looked a way forward, especially on the Jay-Z issue?
Yeah, I agree, and especially what you had asked earlier to my colleagues here about what is the way forward. One, total overhaul, total refocus, total mindset, because we've seen scenarios now and even before where the president and the deputy president do not agree. We are reminded that if a husband and a wife in a house are not in agreement, then the children suffers. The children of Kenya are suffering, and that's why the Gen Zs are on the streets telling them, you the president and the deputy president, you must do something extra. You must get out of your comfort zones. You must stop internal fighting. Come together and think about the way forward for this nation. So we are not yet done. Actually, we are not yet done, because we are focusing on a total cleanup of government. The MPs are still there. And remember, one of the key issues, actually, why even they should go home, it's not even about the Gen Zs. But remember, all the bills that have been passed in Parliament since the inception of this government, the bills were towards singing the song of the executive. And at some point I've been saying, even in our media houses, where is Wanjiku in terms of when bills are being discussed in parliament, when bills are being passed into law, where is Wanjiko? So for the longest time, the current members of parliament has been singing the song of the executive. Bills passed, even Finance Bill 2023 was still passed against the will of the people. So one, we are not yet there. We are still to see a total overhaul of government. So MPs has to go home, and they've asked the entire actually team of elected representatives. Look at the counties. How many times have we seen members of the county assemblies fighting, even taking seats?
And we've seen Gen Z saying that after this protest, they are going to county level to take their protest there and anger their frustrations.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's a total overhaul. We must, for the first time, understand who is a leader. What is leadership? What is governance? What is good governance? We must define and redefine what leadership is all about before we birth the next government. So my proposal is one, that we first of all has to clean everybody and everything in the current governance and government, so that we are able to refocus, like the way he has cleaned up the cabinet. And this morning I was listening to another debate, and some people were asking, how many cabinet ministers will come back? Coming back?
Actually, some of the Gen Z wanted Matiang'i back. I was surprised to hear
Come on,
that.
let's forget about who have been there and who have... There are so many brains and so many brilliant minds in this country that needs an opportunity to come out selflessly to serve this nation. Let me tell you, there are people winding up. Did I see yesterday, even after the president sent the cabinet home, how many applications did I see? Even on Facebook, people were sending applications saying that we are competent. We don't need to be paid. We only need to patriotically stand up for our country. It's not about even now salaries anymore. It's about those patriotic leaders like Mau Mau, the Kapenguria 6, who delivered this country out of the first colonialism. So it's a high time that we get the Kapenguria 6 or 7 or 30 who can deliver this country out of the current colonialism, political colonialism that we have put ourselves into. So number two, that is one, overhaul of government. Number two, going forward, we have to depoliticize government. Yes. The DCI, the DPP, the police service, the prison service, EACC, most of these institutions of the public service have been interfered with by political power, while they should be very, very independent. Do we see even IBC struggles between politics and the independence of IBC? So we must depoliticize all public service agencies of government. And that is why we are looking forward to come out strongly and defend this nation by ensuring that this is taken care of. The last one, you asked about way forward. Chapter 6 of the constitutions have been just dumped. Chapter 6, integrity, responsibility, accountability, transparency, meritocracy, zilienda wapi? Your Excellency, the head of state, as you bring the next cabinet into place, we are watching. These must be people who qualify on chapter 6, integrity matters especially. And integrity will do this country good in terms of corruption, because corruption will start with the mindset. Actually, we already have enough cases at the judiciary. We don't need any more backlog of corruption cases. We only have to tune our mindset that as Kenyans, we can never take bribes again, we cannot give bribes. Otherwise, it's just chapter 6 that we have forgotten about. We have forgotten about our social moral values. Yes. We have forgotten about who we are. That my brother, this pen falls down here, and I ask somebody, kindly give me that pen. Then they will ask, utanichotea pesa ngapi? Come on, we have to have a total.
Yes. Mburu, you are very passionate about girl child education, and some of the Gen Z say that some of these members of parliament are just under a political patronage. What do you think the president can do differently to include women in elective posts or appointments without, favoring them?
Yes, I believe, women, when they went to Beijing in 1985, they said what a man can do, a woman can do better. And I believe there are so many homes which are run by women very efficiently. We have women who are working in a corporate ladder today. If you go along the Kasupai, most of the big cars are driven by women. But what I find a little bit interesting, and I think there's a conversation we need to have as a country, how come our women do not like politics? As I mentioned earlier, women form 52% of the voters. You see a woman, if you're in the house and maybe you want to watch TV, very few women actually even want to watch politics. They just want to see the Mexican
But
soap.
Gen Z has shown a different,
the Gen
actually,
Z, that's why we are saying
ballgame.
they have come, they are saying they are tribalists. They are not saying that I'm this or that community. They are patriots, and they are coming with and the beauty. This is a generation which went to school during Kibaki's time. They got free education, and Uhuru's regime. And these people, they never experienced the tyranny of Moi government, the Kanu government, when people are being taken to Nyaoto chambers. There are so many people who
Actually,
died.
they learned it in history, in books.
They read but I'm also liking the book which they are reading now, because there are a lot of literature books which are teaching very progressive, maybe civic education, the democracy and all that. But I want to say this: the president, mistake number one. When he got to, I remember when he was campaigning and Wesley was saying that he was campaigning for him, he went to UK and he said the fundamental mistake which Uhuru made is to have a handshake with Raila. Why? The opposition was killed. And he said in his government, he wanted to see a very strong opposition. What did he do the first day when he was elected? He bought people from the small parties, the independent. He has even gone to ODM. So when you go to parliament, the president has the majority. So parliament has become a rubber stamp for the president. So whatever president, and the president dares, in our society, democratic society, we are supposed to have three reasonably independent organs of the government: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. Today we have a legislature which cannot make a decision of their own, and that's why we have now. That's why Gen Z they are bringing these issues, because they are saying we have told you we do not want this finance bill. That's not withstanding. Then they are told by the president, any of you who is not going to vote for the bill. So the number one is the president is buying has bought the opposition. That's why he has super majority. In fact, if you have to go by the constitution, Kenya Kwanza should be a minority party. Actually, Asimios would be the majority party. Then you have seen the noise you remember there are some judges whom Uhuru government had refused to appoint. When he came, we appointed them. We are coming from we are officers of the court. There's a lot of corruption in court. And that's why at times there are some judges who are compromised by the executive. So you can imagine an executive which compromises the legislature, is working very hard to compromise the judiciary. What a country, the civil society has been actually basically demoralized. There is a lot of frustration. So I'm coming from, unless the president changes and he allows parliament to operate as a parliament. But I do not know whether the guys who are in parliament now, or even the Senate, whether they have the capacity to change. I also want to mention something about the president is talking about reconciliation, calling. He was in a X space.
You can give your parting shot. We have less than a minute.
So as I finish that, he must stop hijacking young people. There are people today. 9 people are found in Bakassi having been killed. Already there are people. There are people who are being killed. The people who are being arrested. So you cannot say that let's have a handshake. We talk about these things, and you are still at Chinyamaji. You are arresting these young people. You are killing these young people. You are taking them to court. I think the president has to. He has to make a decision. Yes. He's the symbol of national unity. He has to change. If he doesn't change, the change is going to change him.
Ambassador.
Yeah, very good. We are ready to clean up the country. You have asked the question about why women are not there in government, especially high echelons of leadership. We are about to birth the first woman-led government, the first woman head of state and government. Yes, and Ambassador Esther is here to be the 6th head of state and government and the first woman president, to allow women have equal space. And I think also the way he said that women, even at the home level, household level, at the school level, at the church level, we have seen women do exploits, even at the country level. And let me tell you, when we give this government over to a woman, she will be a mother of a nation. Ni yule mama anajifunga leso, anasema Gen Zs ni watoto wangu, anasema the children in Turkana are my children, and the entire population, 51 million of the Republic of Kenya are my children. They must eat. We must live together as one country, and no corruption, no exploitation, and we must reduce on politics. Of course, with the Mama Taifa administration
Wesley,
coming up. Thank you.
Your parting shot, 10 seconds.
So my parting shot would be, the last 1 month has taught us a clear difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is a physical process, but listening is an analytical process. And then the way forward next is the reconstitution of IEBC, so that we can follow in the footsteps of what UK has done. They have elected over 7 MPs who are Gen Z, down to the age of up to 21.
So you're expecting a new face of Gen Z in
the coming elections. You will see new faces in parliament and in government.
Unfortunately, that's all we had. We've come to the end of this show at The Insight. See you same time next Friday.